tried to come every 2 years for sure.
I understand next year might be in Italy, so I might have to change my plans. But it's a beautiful city here, and we've had a nice journey getting here. We started, we're doing some business development in small talk in Barcelona and Paris. So I started in Barcelona, and of course I spent a day in Monaco because I had to go down and meet with the prince and see if they would adopt small talk there, but I was not successful. But I did check the Casino Royale out. Went up to Paris. Some very good opportunities in France. There's a gentleman there, Francois Samark, who was formerly the country manager for GemStone. And he is now the CIO of a company called CIO Net. And he manages over 300 CIOs in France. So they bring presentations and technology at a very high level. So he's a good friend, and we're talking about other opportunities to introduce small talk at the right forums. He's also doing some incubation with small companies that may be evaluating small talk in their technology roadmaps. So it was a good chance to catch up with him. From there we went to London and visited a couple of accounts, including one of our largest customers, and with Syncom, JP Morgan. Excellent, very good visit there. On to Vienna, where we have good accounts with Siemens and other customers you'll see in the presentation. So it's been a busy week. Took the train yesterday through a beautiful country and through the Austrian Alps to some degree, through the high mountains. And here we are, beautiful, beautiful place. Looks like you've had a good agenda and a busy one from the last days I can see here. And our team here, GemTalk, is excited and honored to come to these conferences. We'll remain a platinum sponsor for the future. And we do support this conference and others. FAST is another one we like in Argentina. It's one of our favorites. And of course, where else we can go. But those are the two that I find very compelling and very well attended. And of course, we bring our engineering teams. I know that, like yesterday, Dale Hendricks is up there, I see, was presenting. Martin McClure, I think, is on, as I recall, later today. Ephemerons. Of course, James Foster is here. And of course, Norm Green and myself. So we like to be well represented and share ideas and technical topics. My topic is about how we monetize, how we have customers and make money at it, and how we monetize the technology to build a business, a profitable business. So taking all of your great engineering and converting it to revenue. That's my job, is to be heading up a company that is the rainmaker for our small talk and how we bring it to companies and how we bring value to those companies and converts to revenue, converts to business. And that is a critical factor in keeping any technology alive, is to take value to the marketplace. And I spend my time working to make sure our technology is current, constantly updated and fresh, and meets the demands of high-end customers. And I see Bob Nemec here from HTS, who's a great customer. And we will talk about Bob's company because they're doing some exciting things in Toronto, in the Canadian and US markets. So we're excited about that. You know, we're celebrating 35 years as a company. So we take great pride in the longevity of our company. And when you talk about these applications that we have in these customer bases, these are very loyal customers. And we call it sticky. It's very sticky. It goes very deep into the core of these companies. And it survives acquisitions and mergers. It stays alive. It's a very resilient technology. And, you know, I take pride in this. This is not a negative. I think this is a positive. If you look at the fact that companies wanted to buy us for value, That first acquisition up here in Brokaw, I had grown the company to about $25 million, and they bought it for $300 million. That's a pretty good multiple. That's value for a company. Now, unfortunately, in those markets back then, the dot-com boom crashed hard in 2001. And the Brokaw was a combination of a German company on the newer market, which was a growing fast technology market in Germany, with the US company on the NASDAQ, Blaze Software, which was formerly Neuron Data. And it was a great combination at the time to provide bridges to legacy banking systems, middle tier and GemStone, front-end personalization engines. It was a very powerful technology that they had visions for cellular marketplace. In fact, Stefan Rover, the CEO at the time, had the premonition that your phone would become your personal butler. And this is in 2000. And he was very, very right. You look at it today, and look at the evolution of your mobile device, and it is your personal butler now. It's just about everything you need it to be. So that was a good concept, but unfortunately their stock went from $120 to $1 in 18 months. And one mistake they had made was they had invested in German bonds to help fund their company. And when the stock collapsed, the bondholders called those bonds to be paid. And that was unfortunate for them because they should not have been funded through a bond system. They could have been self-funded. They had the money for that. So when they had to call the bonds, Brokaw had to divest the companies they had acquired to raise the money to pay the bondholders back. So we bought it back. I led a management buyout in 2001 to buy it back. And we did. We wanted to make sure we protected our engineers. We bought it back. And we then built it again in two markets, GemFire and Smalltalk. GemFire was our Java-based system for cloud computing. And then along came VMware and says, you're very valuable, we'd like to give you $100 million for your company. I said, okay. It seemed like a good home for our engineers. And the market was a little volatile back then, if you recall. There were a lot of companies in our space with distributed caching technology in Smalltalk and Java. Tangasol was one. It was acquired by Oracle. And so the market was condensing and collapsing a little bit. So we felt it was a good home for Smalltalk and Java was VMware. And it turned out to be a pretty good home. You know, I liken the VMware like Oracle or IBM. They're like aircraft carriers. They're big, big companies, and they buy multiple companies every year. In this case, VMware bought 18 companies that year, and we were one of them. And one of three things happens when you're acquired by a large company on the aircraft carrier. You get onboarded onto the aircraft carrier, and you succeed because they invest in you, and you get on the ship, and off you go. They're not sure what to do with you. In our case, they liked the GemFire for the cloud, but they weren't sure about this Smalltalk thing. They weren't really used to Smalltalk. So they kind of put it off to the side, and we call it, you know, just kind of stay there, we'll figure it out. Other companies don't work at all, and they jettison them. You know, they'll kick them off the aircraft carrier to private equity or to other acquisitions or sub-acquisitions. So what happened in our case was they weren't investing enough in Smalltalk. They liked it. I ran the business unit for them. And it was a good growth company. It was 20 to 30%, almost 40% growth. But I remember talking to the CEO and says, Dan, I'm sorry, you know, it's got to be 100 to 200% growth to survive, you know, on the aircraft carrier. And, you know, that's what they were looking for, was that explosive cloud computing growth technology. So I said, well, rather than you let it atrophy, why don't you give that piece back to me? And so 4 years ago, I bought it back in a divestiture and took the Smalltalk business back from VMware. So here we are today. A long story, but a good one, because we now, the reason that's good is that we're then able to focus on Smalltalk. We then had a business that's profitable, cash flow positive. VMware had invested in it. We built more technology. Norm's team had kept it very current. And it was good for our customers because they were getting great enhancements and updates, and our customers were very loyal, as I mentioned. And so we're able to focus on Smalltalk only, no GemFire, no Java, no maglev, other diversions were put to the side, and we put the company, on Smalltalk, 100%. And since we've done that, it's been a good decision for us. We have a strong position in the shipping industry. You can study any of these companies. The one in the middle, Costco's been quite aggressive. They are the China Ocean Shipping Company, and they acquired the one on the left of your screen, China Shipping, their little brother, last year. So for us and for others, Syncom, I'm sure, that acquisition was a powerful merger of two companies that now form the fourth largest shipping company in the world with over 500 vessels. NYK Logistics, even though they might be outsourcing over time, still pays maintenance. And Costco, if you look at the news, has just acquired OOCL, which is the largest Hong Kong-based shipping company. So they've seen a huge consolidation in China, and we are currently at the center of that acquisition. That's one way we get growth, is taking care of our customers, and then they merge and acquire, and we grow through merger and acquisition. That leads then to more Smalltalk talent, more Smalltalk engineering. There's a lot of Smalltalk engineers in Hong Kong and Shanghai, and a lot of business opportunity for us to grow into the railway business and even healthcare. But these are large containers. This is very complex systems, managing over 250 of these vessels that have stacks of containers 10 stories high and 5 football fields. And they have to maintain the contents of every device through RFID, port of entry, port of exit, stacking and racking them in the proper order, moving them around storms and tsunamis, and managing this whole logistics of the shipping. This runs the entire shipping company, not one module. There are 19 modules running this shipping company completely on Smalltalk. Okay? Very, very powerful, complex system. It's been working since 1990. Very, very powerful technology. It's the FedEx of the shipping business. So we have a large market share here. It's been a very strong Smalltalk arena. We've just come from JP Morgan, probably one of our largest customers in London. JP Morgan has over 100 Smalltalk engineers. They have them all over the world, including Argentina. They now have 8 or 10 in Buenos Aires, I understand. And we love Argentina for Smalltalk talent. They have them in Glasgow, they have them in Tokyo, they have them in London, New York. I was on a conference call with the team earlier this week, and we are now taking them to the cloud. We are contracted with the JP Morgan to help them get to the cloud, which is very complex encryption math, as you can imagine, the banking system. So that's going to benefit all of our customers and any of you that use the product. We're going to have complex cloud-based encryption. I know it'll be a benefit to HTS. And JP will lead the way. And that will be done over the next 12 to 18 months. It's a complex technology project. They do exotic derivatives and credit hybrids, and one of the fastest and best on the planet. And I've been with them since 1994 and met the young VP, Mike Ashworth, who turned out to be the CIO of JP Morgan. And I think I can recall him saying, Dan, we need to sunset you about 5 times at least. That we're going to take it out, the system's going to be sunsetted with an Oracle-based system, or it was called Athena, or a system acquired by Goldman Sachs, or a system throughout the merger and acquisition process. And guess what? It never happens. It's too powerful, it's too fast, it's too efficient. Oracle and IBM can't touch it. Now we work with them as partners. I'm not dissing Oracle and DB2. They're great partners. A lot of times we connect back to them to send the data back to them for archiving, reporting, and analysis. But the data in motion, the data that's in the middle tier in motion and in memory is GemTalk, and that's moving at very high speeds. I call it Google speed. We're talking about millisecond in-memory computing, the fastest algorithms on the planet. And in that middle tier, we own it. And the front end, then we can connect with a number of great partners like Syncom. Of course, you're seeing Seaside and Faro and others that we support. But we're in the middle. We move the data in motion. We capture and protect that data. And that is, it just cannot be broken. It's so resilient. The big banks, it cannot go down. Cannot go down. Talking about 5,000 traders, 2,000 trades per second in exotic derivatives. This cannot break. And it has to be London, Tokyo, New York, all synchronized in real time. 12 databases around the world, plus full backup and recovery, hot standby. Okay, so that customer then benefits anyone using the product, because what they use, we give to everybody. So our highest end, most driven-based companies, in fact, they don't have to be large. Bob Nemec gives us great technology advice from HTS. A company in Switzerland, Ware, in Zurich gives us great feedback on the product. We get great work from Argentina on how to make it better, but everyone benefits. So you can see we have some good financial accounts. UBS, same, visited them. They do precious metals trading, largest in the world in Zurich. $3 billion a day in trading gold and silver. And they keep it in their vaults. So if you want to have some gold, you can buy it, and it uses GemTalk. You can put it in a vault, Zurich, if you want to protect your investments. So, and again, we work with IBM and DB2 there at Oracle. They dominate UBS, but we survive. And we survive and flourish in there because nobody can touch the trading system that we do there. Nobody can beat it. Speed of performance and resiliency. That's how you survive in small talk. You have to be faster, better, cheaper, just like it's always been in technology. That's a trading floor at JP Morgan, all run on GemTalk. That's just one trading floor of 10. It's 3,000 traders. So I leave this thought with you. Small talk can do anything. It can handle any task. It can handle the biggest accounts in the world. And it can compute equally or better than IBM by 10x, and with 10 less people percentage-wise. 10% of the staff needed to do the same job. We're in manufacturing. Here's HTS. I'd like to point out here, Bob Nemec's been a great supporter of ours and helped bring this technology to HTS. Does HVAC systems, one of the leaders in Canada and the US for custom HVAC and deployment. And we'll talk more about that. That represents another growth. So the first one I mentioned was merger and acquisition. The other one is through selling software as a service, which is what HTS is embarking on. So they've taken this great system called Trax, which Bob, you can look at their website and I'll show you a paper on it. It's a very compelling system. And now they're going to sell it to the marketplace as a SaaS offering. Okay, that then takes HTS to a different strategic level, moving IT from a cost center to a revenue center. And that's big inside an account when you can actually turn IT into a profit center. And so HTS is embarking on that. So when they sell software as a service to another Canadian firm, then we at GemStone pick up 15% royalties. They get most of it, but we get our piece. And there's another revenue event for us. And that helps grow our company. It helps us keep them technologically advanced. The other thing I'd like to point out with HTS is that they've helped spearhead a new concept called staff augmentation. So when they want to rely on GemStone engineers, they use us as an engineering company. So they contract with us for 2 or 3 people to help Bob and his team cut code, do analysis, help him debug if necessary. It's a staff augmentation. We're not full-time employees, but we're part of their staff. And we're part of the virtual team that Bob set up. That's also very important for companies that say that small talk is a niche and I can't find small talkers. We say, come use our company. remove that risk. We have people that wrote the product. We have the patent holding engineers that can be on your team virtually. We don't have to get on a plane, don't have to fly everywhere and spend a lot of money, but virtually part of your team, help you cut code, look at your algorithms, look at your architecture, help you deploy systems, help you manage systems. That's a really powerful concept now to retain companies and keep them so they don't leave because of what they perceive the risk of not being able to find good Smalltalk engineers. Hopefully some of you in this room will become great Smalltalk engineers and be parts of these companies. We do the wafer fab for Texas Instruments. We run 8 wafer fabs around the world, all in GemStone and also VisualWorks. These systems cannot go down. So this is Texas Instruments, runs wafer fabs. There's 8 plants around the world doing semiconductor. They can only go down for 30 minutes a year, at Christmas, at midnight. 30 minutes. That's the time we have to do our updates. That's it. You got 30 minutes. Every minute in the wafer fab costs $30,000 when it's down. Every minute. So they don't like to go down. So that tells you again the power and strength of the product. To be able to run like that, 7/24 all year, never go down, and then you got a window and you got to install your updates. We have to have a lot of scripts for them to do those automatically. You can imagine. You have to get it in a window. Very big customer. Been with us many years. Here's one. We run the hurricane tracking for Florida for Florida Power and Light. And you've probably heard that name before if you know GemStone. So this hurricane hitting them now, that's coming up the Florida coast, we've been on the phone with them. We have a contract with them to fly engineers on site if necessary during hurricanes, and have them also in our headquarters to help them provision during the hurricane. And so that's staff augmentation with that customer as part of our warranty contract. So we'll be talking on the phone later today to see whether we pull the trigger and fly the engineers to a spot outside the hurricane zone in Florida to manage the trouble call of thousands and thousands of customers that are going to be down and out, and how we provision them to get back online. When Katrina hit the Florida coast years ago, it hit hard. There was only one system that stayed up during the hurricane. That was us. Oracle crashed, IBM crashed, GemStone right through. They couldn't handle volume. The relational system could not handle volume. Rows and columns could not handle the complexity of the data coming in at full speed. It had to be in objects. It had to be in memory. And we held up. The CIO gave us an A+ rating. That's how we survive inside a huge IBM account. Can't touch us. It's too good, it's too powerful, never goes down. So they are now working with us on a long-term warranty contract to provide maintenance, support, and staff augmentation, and even help them outsource to run the application. That's how much they value the Smalltalk team inside Florida Power and Light. We were just at Siemens in Vienna. Condis is an excellent telecom call provisioning system. One of their biggest customers is Telecom Argentina, which we keep a close eye on, running that system. Siemens is also going to sell that system. I just negotiated a contract for them to sell it outside the telecom industry. They have a deal with the German railway that looks very, very positive right now. They're looking at oil and gas in the Middle East with some clients. They have a vertical for that business. So we're giving them permission to look at expansion of our value-added reseller relationship to go into other verticals. That could be that's another source of revenue, of course. So when you think about growth again, you've got merger and acquisition, you've got SaaS like Bob Nemick's doing, you then have value-added resellers that move the product out in the marketplace, and we pick up royalties for that. That's another source of revenue for us. It's not through new Smalltalk starts as much as you would imagine. It's through your network of your relationships that then breed other relationships. That's the growth. We have 50 customers, but tens of thousands of users through the network, through the network. That's how we grow our company. And part of the telecom. We're in government as well. Big in Canada, do all the border security control for the country of Canada. It's a nice application, all 64-bit. We do all the visa processing for the country of Norway. We do all the yield analysis for the Dutch and Dutch agriculture. Other great European customers. Of course, Ottawa. So you can see the technology can go across multiple verticals. It's not about it being, put into one box. It's powerful object technology that can span multiple verticals. You just have to understand how to architect it. I was telling someone at lunch, I said, small talk's not easy to learn, object technology is not easy to architect. And most of the students that they brought from these companies ended up being mathematicians and physicists. You have to think outside the box. You have to be very creative with your thinking. These companies that have it, these 50 or so companies, it's like giving someone the keys to a 777 aircraft. Not everyone can fly it. It's not easy. But the ones that learn how to do it get extreme competitive advantage. Very, very high competitive advantage. And they outpace their competition in many, many ways when they learn how to craft small talk and in-memory computing to their benefit. And that's why the engineering that you do here is fantastic, and that's why it's so valuable. You can see our partners here. Your name's up there if you're in the audience, I'm sure. And so we continue to support multiple partnerships. And some are like Syncom partner in the front end. You've seen HTS, which again is software as a service as a partner. That's a different kind of partnership. We see LifeWare, which is with the Swiss banking system. They provide insurance to Swiss bankers. And we had dinner with them in Zurich a couple days ago. Fantastic company. Very, very strong technically. They push the product quite a bit. So you can see that, and that's just a piece of the ecosystem that surrounds GemStone. Of course, we support the conferences, and we'll continue to do that for years to come. We support open source. We believe that that's an important area for us to support, and we will continue to do that. There's a lot on this chart about things that people are working on. And I hear a lot about all of these things when I visit my customers. I think on this trip I heard about Metacello, I heard about Faro, I've heard about Cypress, I heard about Seaside. I mean, I heard about different parts of different things in all of my visits. So we continue to support open source. And so finally, in kind of summary here, there's ways to grow a business. This is not a stagnant business. This is not a declining business. This is a growing business. It might not be 100% growth, but it's very nice growth. Last year we grew about 35%. If you count the shipping vertical acquisition, it was 100%. And we picked up $3 or $4 million in royalties with just an acquisition, so that's a nice piece of business. So you can see some of the growth with customers, existing expansion. We're upgrading. We have two 32-bit customers left, and we'll keep supporting them. They say this stuff's so great we don't want to touch it. Just leave it alone. And their application doesn't need near a millisecond real-time compute. It's more of a stagnant compute system. So they don't need 64-bit. They don't want to pay for it. They don't want to go through the conversion. Because the current system, they're so happy with it. So just leave us alone, please. We love it. I said, fine. That's okay. We do moderate patches on it, but that's pretty much in maintenance mode. They just say, leave it alone. It works so well. Just leave it where it is, please. So that's okay. You can see that's all one part of our growth strategy. And here's just a picture of the HTS. You can see that. I don't know how Bob shares with people any of your presentations, but in this piece here, Bob was kind enough to allow us to promote our company inside a large electronic marketing piece they did for the markets they serve to promote the SaaS model. And they go through and they talk about how GemTalk, what it provides in those cases of adaptive software, simplified architecture, developer productivity, scale, solving hard problems. This is their kind of 5 points they make to the markets that they serve. And those 5 things are part of the fundamentals of small talk. They provide these things. When you talk about them in detail, they do things that make them powerful, fast, resilient, unbreakable software. And that's really important to his market, that customers have a product that works very efficiently and very, very quickly. The developer productivity, Bob, I think you'd say you probably have, compared to other large shops, would have maybe 1/10 the size of your staff than conventional. So this we've known to be true for years and years of analysis, probably 1/10 the size of a comparable staff that's not using small talk. Even Java staffs, it's a fact. So here's again, in the cloud, I think eventually you'll take that SaaS model and market into the cloud, and we're big supporters of the cloud, taking GemTalk to the cloud, just like you would in any cloud provisioning system. It can be a private cloud or a public cloud, Amazon being an example of a public cloud. But we have to have strong encryption algorithms, so when Norm gets up, you'll see that we're moving towards strong encryption in the cloud and private and public cloud environments. Some nice new companies, Debris Publishing. Are you here, Debris or YesPlan? Or anyone here from those firms? That's the kind of the final growth piece for me is we give software away for free if you want it. So you can have free software, on the web edition, free. And you get a little bit bigger and you start to be more successful, then you can pay me a little bit of money. But it's never very expensive. So you can use it for free. And you can develop and build systems. And then when you monetize it, when you start making money at it, then I'll take a little bit of piece of that for my share. But not until you're making money. And it's not a big piece. It's a moderate piece. Maybe 10-15% kind of a piece. So I'll be looking forward to talking to you all at the social, and later on I'll be here today. And we have a meeting in Vienna tomorrow, so we'll be leaving in the morning, but I always love coming here. And I know this afternoon we have a lot of chances to talk and get caught up with all of you that want to talk more, but thank you very much. That's my presentation.
So I'm the guy between you and the coffee. Let's see here. So 3 basic pieces to talk about. Maybe 3, maybe 2. What is this GemStone thing? What's coming in 3.4 and our licensing options. So the answer to these next 2 questions dictate partly how long it takes to get to the coffee. So how many people have a feel for what GemStone is? Show of hands, please. Oh, very healthy. And how many have actually put their hands on the product, used GemStone? Also very healthy. So I think I can skip these GemStone 101 slides that Steph had me put in here for people that know nothing about GemStone. Well, maybe we'll compromise. I'll just go through them very quickly. How about that? What is GemStone? It basically solves some of the limitations of traditional small talk, where you've got one VM, one host, limited to whatever you have in RAM, and you're saving changes since the last image save. So GemStone addresses all these issues. Obviously, the way to do that is thousands of VMs. We spread across multiple machines. We're disk-based instead of RAM-based. We have transactions, ACID transactions, and guaranteed persistence. And scalability is a big part of GemStone. Billions of objects, literally. Thousands of users at the same time, thousands of machines, transactions per second in the thousands, 10,000, and literally terabytes of data. And blah, blah, blah. Going for the obvious applause. Doesn't work twice in a row. It's all right. 100% small talk, as everyone's used to. Very large collections, indexes, so you can do index searches on strings or numbers or whatever on collections of tens of millions. And interfaces, GemStone is kind of interface neutral. We like to say we'll run anybody's client. So VisualWorks VA, Pharaoh more and more, GT for GemStone. We have interfaces to C, C++, Java, and the back end to relational databases, Oracle and Sybase. So GemStone likes to kind of sit in the middle tier. What platforms are we on? Most of our customers these days are on Linux. Also run on Mac, Solaris, both Oracle, rather AMD on Spark, and IBM PowerPC on AIX. Object Client is all the above plus Windows. So we support Windows on the client, but not on the server. Most interesting to this crowd, Syncom. VisualWorks support 8.2.1 and 7.10 is supported by our current release on Linux and Windows, and VA on Windows 7 and 8, 8.6.3. Our current release is 3.3.6. It was released in June. Our next major release is 3.4. That's coming out sometime this fall. We're finishing that up now. We wanted to have it done by ESUG, but we just didn't get there, so it's going to take another month or two. But it will be this year, for sure. And here's where we get to some of the good stuff. What's new in 3.4? First thing is secure backup and restore. And by secure, we mean the backup is always digitally signed. It may be encrypted, and it may use data compression. So the digital signature, and we're doing all this with the OpenSSL toolkit, by the way. We don't write our own encryption because who writes their own encryption? We're not smart enough to do that. So we have a digital signature with a private signing key that's provided by you. We can encrypt it using AES, CTR. We only do RSA certificates right now. That's really an OpenSSL limitation. And compression using gzip or LZ4, which is really fast, or nothing. So here's how we generate the session key for the encryption, and the point here is that the key can be encrypted by more than one certificates that you pass in. And the idea here is you may want to generate, say, a backup of your database. It could be billions of objects. And you want to give that to your partner, but you don't want to give your partner your private key. So you want to be able to encrypt it with their key, right? So you can put it on the internet, they can download it, and open it with their key, but your key is still private. So to do that, we generate the session key and we encrypt it with up to 8 certificates that you provide, and this is all stored within the backup file. Right, so any of those 8 certificates, if you're using 8, can read the file. And then when we get to the actual encryption, it's done in this order. We start with your object graph. If we're using data compression, we compress it down. Then we're encrypting with the session key. Again, this is all using the OpenSSL toolkit. And we're hashing it as we go, keeping track of the hash, and finally writing it out to the disk. When we're all done the writing, then we're going to generate the final hash. We're going to encrypt that with the private signing key, which is provided, and also write the signature to the end of the backup file. And when we go to restore the file, the first thing we do is check the signature. The signature doesn't match, and we just raise an error. We don't do anything else. That means the file's truncated or somebody's done something bad. So that's the first major new feature in 3.4. The other one, another major feature is single sign-on. This has been a long time coming. People have been asking for it for, seems like forever. But the idea here is you don't need a GemStone password to log into the database. You use your single sign-on credentials to do so. There's different types of single sign-on servers we support. They all use Kerberos under their hood. So whether it's Microsoft using the SSPI, which is an API on top of Kerberos, or GSS API on Unix, using Kerberos under the hood, it's all Kerberos at the bottom. So the types of servers we tested with are MIT, Kerberos, and the other major flavor, Hemendal, may work, probably does, we didn't try it. Samba 4 as a Windows domain controller. Samba is an open source product, if any of you are familiar with. Or the actual Microsoft Windows Server 2012 or later domain controller. And in Kerberos has the concept of principals, and by convention, principals are capitalized to differentiate them from things like domains. And you have user principals and host principals and service principals. So GemStone is a service principal, and our service principal name is always GemStone 64 in uppercase. So a little bit of small talk code here. I'm not sure you can see this in the back, but this is how we create a user profile to log in with single sign-on. So a few lines of small talk code, not very much. First one creates a user profile object. We have that now, that's not new. The next lines are new. We have a new class called Kerberos Principal. And here we supply the name of the user principal that we're going to log in as, in this case, Norm G at GemTalk Systems. And then we connect the user profile object to the Kerberos principal object, and we connect the transaction. Done. The next bit is some administrative pieces that you have to do. You have to get what's called a key tab or Kerberos key tab from the Kerberos administrator, and what that is a file of encrypted key pairs of principals and encrypted passwords. So I don't really know that much about this. The Kerberos administrator cranks this out, and you have to tell GemStone where it is. So you get this from your administrator, you point the configuration at it, good to go. The next thing you may need, and this is an optional step, but you need to get a Kerberos ticket, which is your single sign-on credential, if you don't already have it. Some systems, when you log into Unix or Windows, or if you log into a Windows domain, you automatically get it. And if you do, you don't have to do this. If you don't, if you're using some other kind of authentication like LDAP, then you have to do a KINIT or Kerberos init to get a ticket, and this will be the one place where you type your password. And if it's good, then you get the ticket. KList will show you your ticket. I've got this ticket, it's a TGT, which means ticket granting ticket, and it shows you when it expires, all kinds of boring information. So now you've typed your password the one time. And then, if everything worked well, you just log in. So I set user norm G, log in, I did not type my password, done. Also in 3.4, we of course updated our open source library versions. The biggest of these for 3.4 was OpenSSL 1.1. It's a fairly major change from OpenSSL 1.0. And all these libraries we compile from source and supply them as shared library in the GemStone product tree. Another thing we've improved is find reference paths. This is a method in class system that answers the question, how is this object connected to my object graph? Typically, you've got some leaf object, you delete what you thought were all the references, you run the garbage collection, it's still here. Why? And if you have a few billion objects, that can be a hard question to answer. So there's a tool that basically walks the chain backwards and finds out how it's connected to the root repository. And we've multi-threaded this, made it a lot faster. We've also done a lot of work in 3.4 with transaction log sizes. Like any database, when you commit a transaction, we write to the transaction log so we can replay that if there's a crash. But what we found was sometimes when you do a fairly small change on a big collection, you write a lot of tran log. Also, that could happen when you're updating, say, a large collection with a lot of indexes. So in 3.4, we addressed that. We went back, tried to figure out what's going on there, and tried to do the incremental changes, tried to record those more efficiently in the tran log. So anybody that has tran log growth problems should see a distinct improvement in 3.4. We're also supporting Linux huge memory pages and AIX as well. This is the operating system page size used to back the shared page cache. The default in Linux is 4K, and you can imagine if you have a 500 gigabyte shared cache, that's a lot of 4K pages. And it turns out that causes the Linux some heartburn when you get into that large of a size. So our biggest customers, or anybody really, can benefit performance-wise by using the Linux huge pages. Another thing we've done is allow you to update your key file at runtime. Previously, you had to stop the database, copy the new file over, restart the database. Not so good for production systems. So we've added these a method here to apply a new key file at runtime without restarting the database. Also a getter method to inquire about the attributes of the current key file. There was supposed to be Git support in the base image in 3.4, but it didn't quite make it. So you have to unsee that slide. It's coming, we're just not quite there yet. This feature did make it. They also spent a lot of time on doing B-tree plus indexes in GemStone 64, which are more efficient than our old B-tree indexes. This is a publicly discussed data structure. It's actually in Wikipedia. You can go look up what that is. But the upside and the net for GemStone users is faster queries, fewer transaction conflicts when you're updating collections with indexes, and queries that return a large part of the collection, called low selectivity queries, are quite a bit faster. We've also added some new reduced conflict or RC classes. We got an array now, a pipe, which is similar to an RCQ, an RC identity set, and the best named class ever, RC low maintenance identity bag. There was about a month of fighting about the name of that. GemTalk guys can tell you about. This was the compromise. The backstory there, very briefly, is that RC Identity Bag is an existing class, and in order to properly maintain it, you have to occasionally send it the message "clean up bag" in order to all the parts that get garbage collected properly. Well, this version you don't have to do that, hence low maintenance identity bag. So, now that I've announced it publicly, that we can't change it anymore, so it's set. Very briefly, the licensing models, we are free for commercial use with limitations. So the idea, as Dan was saying, is you can start your project or your business using GemStone, and we want to grow our business relationship with you. We make money not until you make money. There's also the traditional models, perpetual licenses, you buy it once, you own it forever, or the annual subscription, you pay us every year, cancel anytime. And this chart's on our website as well. This is basically what you get for each of the different levels of community edition licenses. Revised this a few years ago. Might do it again someday, but it seems to be working pretty well for the most part. Dan also covered this. We're continuing to participate in ESUG, obviously, FAST in Argentina. We're Faro Consortium members, and we got a huge list of open source projects longer than this. That's my last slide. Any questions? Okay, coffee's on. Oh, I'm sorry, missed you.
So what's the difference between the first two licensing models? They're both free and one is...
The first two, meaning...
It's not unlimited.
The first 2 points here?
No.
Next slide, I'm sorry. Starter and limited.
Gems and the disk.
Well, you got a difference in gem count there, and a difference in maximum database size. You get, it looks like...
One's a subscription
The
license.
subscription versus, yeah. So the first one comes with the download. So you have a perpetual license with the download, so access through FTP or, you can get it. You don't have to give us your email address. The second one, you have to send me an email saying, I'd like to try out 50 gig instead of 10 gig. And I'll send you an email with the key. Good for a year. It gives us a chance to at least know that someone's doing it, but there's sort of an engineering hesitancy to, oh, I'm not going to try this out if I'm going to get on any spam mailing lists. So, but we don't send any email.
We try not to spam a whole lot.
Yeah.
That just puts you on our radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's say someone wants to take advantage of these possibilities of trying GemStone for free. So they know out the product and now what kind of material do you have for people that want to learn how to use GemStone properly? Is there any source of for reading, any, I don't know, group of people you can ask questions?
I'm going to let James answer that again.
Yeah, as to the documentation, there's hundreds of pages of manuals, PDFs, that are current for the version. As to mailing lists, there's a couple mailing lists that are not active in the sense of, filling your email, but active enough in the sense that several of the engineers are on the list and will reply fairly quickly to questions. Then there's videos, blog posts, and so on. I have the half-day or the full-day session I did in Argentina, we videotaped, and so there's hours of videos about GemStone as well.
I can recommend them. They are very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Gaylord?
In my neighbor's presentation the other day, he mentioned the benefits of GemStone Smaller Interface. What is the licensing model for that?
For
Does it come
GBS?
with the GSI? GBS, GemStone. Gem Builder for small.
I'm just gonna give James one.
So was so highly speaking about it.
Yeah. The Gem Builder for Smalltalk is the product that supports the two-object space transparent replication. It also has some very mature tools built into it. And one of the ways that the engineering team convinced management, 10 years ago to go with a free version was to make the case that it wouldn't interfere with the existing customers. So existing customers wouldn't say, oh, I can just stop paying. And since all the existing customers 10 years ago were on GBS, that was chosen as the dividing line. So GBS is still part of the commercial product, and if you want to use the free product, you're
Get to 2%
or a Toad, or Glamour Toolkit, or Jade, or any number of options. I use the non-GBS tools on a daily basis and have for 15 years.
Anything else? Yeah.
Does the absence of GBS the GBS still allow you to use, say, VisualWorks, or is that basically
Not correct.
limited to the product itself?
Not connected directly to GemStone. That's what the GBS is the bridge between, say, VisualWorks or VA and GemStone. Dale?
Well, it is possible to use the GCI library. One of the things is, like for the open source Smalltalks are connecting using the GCI library. So there's a C API through the GCI libraries, and the GCI libraries are included in the free product. Okay, so anybody can write applications against that C API, and of course with FFI in Smalltalk, you can hook up to that, and then so you can do logins and remote execution of Smalltalk code from any client Smalltalk. The supported ones, the VA, VisualWorks, Faro, and Squeak are the current set. So yeah, that's allowed from the free product, and that's how Faro or whatever connects up.
And James?
James, maybe.
And one thing, when you say, does it not allow this, does it not allow that, bear in mind, we are a very small company and very interested in helping. And an email to me will get you a key file that includes GBS that has a time limit on it. And so, there's people, Christian was wanting to work on an open source project where he had some code in VW and wanted to be able to interact with GemStone and said, can I do this? And sure, we'd love to have you do it. So, none of these rules, Dan's here, he'd be happy to discuss, negotiate anything. It's all negotiable.
I think as I recall, so I don't mind putting it for free. That's not a big problem. Oh, I think the question at the time was we didn't want to speak for Syncom or instantiations to offer free software because VisualWorks is not a GemStone product. So maybe at the time, I might recall that we didn't want to offer things for free that we weren't, legally didn't own. So I'm perfectly fine giving GBS out for free to encourage. You'd have to go get the licenses from Syncom or instantiations for free or through some negotiation, I guess, because we couldn't speak for them, nor should we. It's not our product. But if you want the connectivity, talk to James, I have no problem with that. It's just, you'd have to get that product through the other sources, instantiations or SynCom, right? So I think at the time, we didn't want to speak for them to give free software away. So I think you would want to speak separately with them if you wanted free software. And I'm not sure, SynCom, if you have free software offerings. So yeah, if it's free, then the GBS should be free as well.
We all do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all have an evaluation version, or we have a
Yeah.
personal use license,
Yeah,
which is a lot like your
Sure.
offering. You get to a point when you start making money, we all start making money.
so that should be free then. We should modify to allow GBS. It's okay by me, no problem.